Yajeta Purusham Pritak. Ladies. Devan Rishindra Bhutani Pitranat Panamanvaham Yajeta Purusham Pritak. Devan Rishindra Bhutani Pitranat Panamanvaham Swavacha Katavitena Yajeta Purusham Pritak. Devan unto the demigods, Rishin unto the great sages, Nir unto human society, Bhutani unto the living entities in general, Pitrin unto the forefathers, Atmanam oneself or the supreme self, Anvaham daily, Swavricha by one's means of livelihood, Agata Vitena money that automatically comes, Yajeta one should worship, Purusham the person situated in everyone's heart, Pritak separately. Turns out there's not a purport. We'll have to do the next one. Anyway, I'll give the translation. Every day one should worship the Supreme Being who is situated in everyone's heart, and on this basis one should be separate. One should separately worship the demigods, the saintly persons, ordinary human beings, and living entities, one's forefathers and oneself. In this way one is able to worship the Supreme Being in the core of everyone's heart. So I'll just run through the Sanskrit. Yahama atmano dikareja savasho yogi sampada vaitani kena vidina agnihotradina yaje. Translation: when one is enriched with wealth and knowledge which are under his full control, and by means of which he can perform yoga or please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must perform sacrifices, offering oblations to the fire according to the directions of the Shastras. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If a grihastha or householder is sufficiently educated in Vedic knowledge and is sufficiently rich to offer worship to please the Supreme Personality of God, he must perform yajnas as directed by the authorized scriptures. Bhagavad Gita 3.9 clearly says, Yagiratat kamano nitra loko yam kama bandhana. Everyone may be engaged in his occupational duties, but the result of these duties should be offered for sacrifice to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to possess transcendental knowledge, as well as the money with which to perform sacrifices, one must do it according to the directions given in the Shastras. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52, Kritiya dhyayato vishnam tretayam yajato makai dvapare paricharyayam kalotad darikirtanat. The entire Vedic civilization aims at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was possible in Satyuga by meditation upon the Supreme Lord within the core of one's heart, and in Treta Yuga by the performance of costly yajnas. The same goal could be achieved in Dwapara Yuga by worship of the Lord in the temple, and in this age of Kali one can achieve the same goal by performing Sankirtan Yajna. Therefore, one who has education and wealth must use them to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by helping the Sankirtan movement that has already begun, the Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement. All educated and wealthy persons must join this movement, since money and education are meant for service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If money and education are not engaged in the service of the Lord, these valuable assets must be engaged in the service of Maya. So we do have a patronage system set up. The education of so-called scientists, philosophers, and poets is now engaged in the service of Maya, and the wealth of the rich is also engaged in Maya's service. The service of Maya, however, creates a chaotic condition in the world. Therefore, the wealthy man and the educated man should sacrifice their knowledge and opulence by dedicating them for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord and joining the Sankirtan movement. Yogya Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Samedasa. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Swabadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhattarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there's a nice book by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, and he's broken down the Bhagavad Gita. And he explains that there's different types of people that achieve perfection. Some just by hearing, some by studying, and some by preaching. And so I keep in touch with him on WhatsApp, and I was asking, well, what if people take advantage of just hearing when they could actually study or they could actually preach, and they just go for the easiest? And he said, well, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is opening up his heart in the 12th chapter. He's saying, look, if you can't do this, just do this. Do something. And he's really showing that he's prepared to bend over backwards to facilitate the living entity. If this living entity genuinely cannot do very much, and this is the minimal amount, then okay, that's fine. If that's the best that you can do, Krishna's okay with that. They will go to the planets where the pious dwell, which is Dhruva Loka. So just by hearing, your destination is Dhruva Loka. However, if you're a very educated person and a very wealthy person, and you just decide, well, I think I'll take advantage of Krishna's kindness and I'll do the bare minimum, and then I'll have lots of money and I'll have a great time. And so then, if you behave in an exploitative, calculating way, then Krishna puts on his calculating heart, and he goes, oh, so if you're only going to do this much, then I'm only going to give you this much. But if we approach Krishna with an open heart and say, Krishna, I want to surrender, but I'm attached to this, and I have this desire, I have this conditioning, but I still want to try the best that I can, then Krishna reciprocates with that also. So for us, we have to surrender to the degree that we can sustain sincerely, not that we give everything up and then we just put a gumshoe on and we're walking around in Glasgow in the freezing cold, and we only eat once a week, and very quickly we're not able to maintain that. So we have to do what is sustainable. Of course, we don't always know what is sustainable. One of the things I like to do when I go swimming, if I'm in a new swimming bath, I like to jump in and see if I can go the full length underwater. So sometimes you're not quite sure if you can do it, so you jump in, and if you do have to come up, you have to come up. So spiritual life is a little bit like that. You give everything you've got, you try the best that you can, and if you need to come up for some material facilities, then okay. But you won't know until you try. It may turn out that you jump in and you end up taking sannyas, and you're great, and there's no problem, and you're taking disciples a couple of years later. On the other hand, you may jump in and 30 seconds later, oh my God, I've got to watch a film, or whatever it is you're attached to, So we try the best that we can, and then we see how long. And the brahmachari ashram, in ISKCON now, the rule is, if you want to be brahmachari, then you commit for at least 2 years. And then after 2 years, then you review. And then you maybe go another 2 years, or you just do 1 year. Or you decide you want to become a sannyasi, whatever it is. But you commit for a certain period of time. And then in that period of time, you find out that actually brahmachari life is not really for you. And then you move into the grihastha ashram. But until you try, you won't know. And you won't get the proper training either. In the Vedic culture, the training was 25 years. When you were born to 25, then married. Now people have very bad training in the beginning, and then they become brahmachari for 6 months, and then they get married. So it's going to be difficult if you do that, because you'll have so many bad habits to fight against. So at least if you can be a brahmachari for 5 years, and then when you're married, you can look back and think, they were the best 5 years of my life. When you've got 10 kids, and your wife has hit you on the head with a frying pan. So if the man is good brahmachari, then he'll be able to protect his wife and help her to follow spiritual principles, and then she'll be able to be a chaste wife and serve him nicely. However, if he isn't well trained, then everything becomes very difficult, because the lady can only be expected to be chaste and submissive to a husband that's following spiritual life properly. If he's not, then everything becomes a bit awkward. So anyway, it's a challenge. I know there's a few devotees that I keep in touch with, and they're trying to get married, and it's difficult to find somebody who wants to practice spiritual life seriously. And then even if you do find somebody that does, somebody that's compatible with your nature, you can get a chart done to see how compatible you are with the person, you know. So if you have that, then, and the person's also strictly committed. Of course, he may be strictly committed and you may not be. That could be another problem. Or he wants to go at this speed and you only want to go at that speed. So that also has to be taken into account. Are we compatible? And do we both want to commit as seriously to spiritual life? Or is one going to be dragging the other one around for the rest of their lives, you know? You're supposed to get up at 4 o'clock. Did you chant your 16 rounds? Are you sure that's vegetarian? Did you offer it? Oh, well, you know. You could end up with one of them. So better to wait. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And sometimes you may have to wait a while to find the right person. But better to do that than end up with the wrong person and maybe even end up with children. Then the whole situation will become very awkward. So it's ideal family life. Oh. Thank you. Ideal. So ideal means that it may not be ideal. Ideal is what it should be. And generally we're aspiring for an ideal family life or an ideal spiritual life. In one sense, even if you don't get married, you still have to develop all the skills and qualities of being in a family, because Sangha means, anger is limb, and being in a Sangha means being part of a body. So if you decide, oh, I can't be bothered getting married, you got to be nice to them all the time and serve them and listen to them, I'll just stay brahmachari. Well, you're going to have to do the same thing anyway with all the brahmacharis. If you're a horrible, nasty person, then the brahmacharis won't like you either. So Prabhupada said every man in this movement should be brahmachari, and every lady in this movement should get married. So you should get married to a brahmachari. That's the best combination. Anyway, so ideal family life means, when something is ideal, it means we're aspiring for that. And we shouldn't become discouraged if we don't achieve ideal family life, because the whole point, there's Krishna and there's Maya, and the whole point is, like Prabhupada is saying, we need to serve Krishna and not serve Maya. But what we don't understand is Maya is serving us, because she's a servant also. And the way she's serving us is, she's teaching us the futility of material life. Her job isn't actually to illusion us. She's a devotee as well. She doesn't want people staying here in the material world. Her job isn't that. Her job is to teach us the futility. As soon as we realize the futility of material life, Maya's really pleased with us. Oh, that's great. Now the person is learning the lessons. As long as you're not, then you keep getting caught by these illusions and you keep coming to the same conclusion. This is just futile. And then again, you try again. And no, this is futile. Called Bogachyag. Tyaga means to renounce, and bhoga means enjoyment. So you enjoy it, and then you think, oh, that was disgusting. And then later on you think, oh, it wasn't that bad, really, was it? And then oh, it was that bad. And then you just keep doing it. Chewing the chewed. You chew it, you think, this hasn't got any taste, so you spit it out. And then later on, I'll just try that again. No, it's definitely not got any taste. Actually, no, it's definitely not got any taste. That's bhoga tyaga. You keep chewing the chewed. You think, well, maybe if I chew it really hard this time, I'll get some taste. No. Chewing the chewed. How long then? How many lifetimes will it take before the living entity wises up and thinks, this is totally futile? Even if I get the most beautiful woman, the most beautiful man, the biggest house, the biggest car, the most money, even if I get all that, I can't keep it anyway. It's futile. It's totally futile. So Maya is trying to teach us by slapping us, and Krishna is trying to teach us by patting us. Come on. If you can't do this, look, just do that. If you can't do that, it's okay, look. I still love you, you just try, and I'll do the rest. And Maya's like, come on, wake up, you idiot. Why does she keep slapping me? I don't know. They teach rats by, they put a rat in a cage, and it's a red button and a green button. If it presses the green button, it gets a little sweet. If it presses the red button, it gets electric shock. But the really stupid rats, even after months, they're still pushing the red one. Oh, that wasn't, I'll try that again. No, that doesn't work, But even the rat, after a while, it stops hitting the red button. It just goes for the green one, So the box is this material world, and the red button is Maya, and the green button is Lord Ramachandra or Krishna. You can have a blue button as well, either Krishna or Ram or Maya. Or a golden one, if you want to go for the golden one. The golden one's the easiest one to press. That's Lord Chaitanya. He really wants us out the material world like anything. He's actually in anxiety because we're in the material world. And that's why he sent Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda, Gaura-Kishore, Jagannath Prabhuji, Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Ramachandra Kaviraj, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. There's so many, sent so many, They have this prayer in the Christians that God so loved the world that he sent his only son. But Krishna so loved the world that he sent so many of his sons, so many sons and daughters, because he loves us so much. He's made a whole plan, a whole strategy, so that we can go back, And then if we turn and say, 16, can we just do 12 rounds and 4 regulative principles? Can we just follow 3? Come on, this is really tough. And isn't there an easier way to do it? Can we not just slide back on our backs, eating sweet balls, watching films? I mean, you are God. You can do anything. Why not just make it so easy for us? So Maya makes it difficult because he's trying to teach us it's futile. As soon as we learn it's futile, then Maya doesn't have to do anything. Maya leaves us alone. In fact, Maya serves us. The material energy serves us. When we're using everything for Krishna, then Maya happily facilitates us. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Yeah, because the price of that house is that you lose your eternal life. Srila Prabhupada said one time to there was one man in India, and he was building houses for Srila Prabhupada, And Srila Prabhupada was really pleased with him. He was getting paid, and he said, I'm so sorry, Prabhupada, I'm so sinful, because he wasn't following any principles or chanting. And Prabhupada said, Krishna is so pleased with you that he's building you a house in the spiritual world. So that's what we want. We want Krishna to build a house for us in the spiritual world. You know, you've got your choice. You can have a house here, or you can have a house. You can't have both. I mean, you can have a house here as well, but you have to understand the difference between this house that we're in, which is temporary, and it also fortifies the illusion. Like they say in England, every house is the man's castle. So it may only be a little rubbishy house, but because it's his house, it's like his castle, you know. Although, you know, you see some people, they live in these really rubbishy houses and they're all next to everybody else. But to make their house like a castle, they paint it like bright yellow and put statues of lions outside the door. And they've got a little basket of flowers and they do the windows like lead, crisscross, you know. And it looks, the whole place looks real garbage because they're all just in a row of houses, you know. And he's trying to make his house the castle. And unfortunately, although it seems blatantly obvious, people are under the illusion, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, that once I own my house, which will have really thick walls to keep the Yamadutas out, I'll be in that house forever and ever, and I'll have no problems. And when I do die, I won't exist anymore anyway. So for the rest of my life, the problem is the rest of your life, I'm 62 now. And when I was 52, it wasn't very long ago. And the next 10 years are not going to go any slower. So at the end of your life, you've worked hard, you get in the house, and you have a heart attack and die, and your kids get it. The kids end up being the ones that enjoy the house, not you. So you work really, really hard so that your kids can trash the house and be lazy. Not a good idea, eh? Better the kids learn how to work hard the same as you had to. Develop some character. So that's the illusion. And they keep making it longer. It was 65. Then they worked out that most people die when they're 66 and a half. So they made it 66 and a half. And then they made it 67. And now they're pushing it to 69. So what they want is they want you on the production line. And then on your 69th birthday, they'll put this little box at the side of you and you go, you just fall in the box. And then they go, next one. And save no pension then. Save us a fortune. Just cremation fees. And if you don't do your will properly, the government take 40%. Whatever it is you've got, they get it. It's called inheritance tax, isn't it? If you don't know how to make it. And I've got friends who are funeral directors, and they said most people don't know how to make the thing. They said most people get totally ripped off as well. When someone dies, they're so upset, they get ripped off like anything, you know. That's why some people are so old, because they can't afford to die. We can do it for 50 quid. We take the body up in a wheelbarrow, we'll stick it on the compost heap and just set fire to it and put some tulsi leaves on. And sing Hari Bol, 50 quid. And you get prasadam afterwards. Special budget offer. We just went to a funeral. It was one lady that used to come here for like 20 years, and she had some unfortunate thing happen, and she died. So we were there at the funeral, and we asked the funeral guy, is it okay if we put some sacred things on the coffin before she's cremated? And he said, yeah, no problem. So we put some garlands on from the deities, and we put some tulsi. And in scripture it says that when the body is consumed by fire, that also burns tulsi, then you go to Vaikuntha immediately. All the sin is burnt off, you know. So there was a few devotees there. Oh, yeah, there was 3 or maybe 4 devotees were there along with other people. So they were all praying for her and chanting for her and putting sacred things. So that's really what we want, more than a big house. We want that at the time of death, our loved ones make that arrangement for us. And then that's why it's putra. Put is hell and tra means to free. So you need putra. But in Krishna consciousness, we don't need putra. We just need devotees. And then when we leave our body, the devotees make the arrangement. They take our ashes to the Vrindavan and cast them in the Jamuna. Very, very auspicious, if you can have that happen for you. So that should be our main concern. How we're going to leave. Prabhupada said it's not how you run the race that wins it, it's how you finish the race that wins it. So it's extremely important that we've got it right at the end of our life, even if we've been a total disaster right throughout the entire one, but at least at the time at the end of our life, we have to get that right. It's interesting in the Gita, it says, that which is temporary doesn't exist, and that which doesn't change, that does actually exist. So anything that's eternal, that exists. This microphone doesn't actually exist. It's just in this combination right now. But when the devastation comes and the universe is annihilated, goes in the water, it'll go back to just the molecules that it was, and then it'll reform into something else. But that which exists, actually exists, there is no change. And that which keeps changing all the time doesn't actually exist in the truest sense of the term, Very fleetingly exists, but then it disappears again. Like a kaleidoscope. You're moving the kaleidoscope and it makes all these different patterns. And in one sense they exist, but then it changes so much, it's like it doesn't really exist. Natoy vaham jitu nasam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. Shishiko nitai maya pashashiki jai. Any other questions or comments? We must have a question from the Mahajis. Are you both students? Oh, you're working, yeah. You have that PhD look about you. Are you a doctor? And you're studying? No. And you're working as well. And what do you do? A dentist. Oh, okay. I never met a poor dentist. Any questions? Because the challenge is, how do we lead an ideal life and family life? Are you both married? You're married, yeah. So it's finding the ideal partner. It's a real challenge in Kali Yuga, and then being able to stay with them and make the relationship work. There was one man, he didn't like his wife at all. He was a Jewish man, and he went to the rabbi and he said, "I want to get rid of my wife. I'd like her to be dead in 2 weeks." And the rabbi said, "No problem. All you do, you make a promise in the synagogue, and you break it. And if you break the promise, she dies." And he goes, "Okay, that sounds good enough. What shall I do?" He goes, "We'll make a promise to build the mikveh. We need a new mikveh. It's like a bathing place. Promise to build the mikveh, and then just don't do it, and she'll be dead in 2 weeks." So he said, "Okay, dear Lord, I promise I will build the mikveh, or I'll pay for it anyway." And the rabbi said, "Fantastic." And as he was going, the rabbi said, "Seeing as your wife's dead now in 2 weeks, can you just be nice to her before she dies? Bring her back a bunch of flowers, So on the way home, he got some flowers, and he said, "These are for you." "Oh, thank you so much." And then the next day, he got another little gift, and he was being really nice with her, And then he came dashing in 10 days later. Said to the rabbi, he said, "You're not going to believe it." He said, "You've got 4 more days, then your wife's dead." He goes, No, you're not going to believe it. She's like an angel. I can't believe it. I don't even think she's the same person. She's just so nice to me. I don't want her to die anymore." So the rabbi says, "Okay, so build the mikveh." So If you work at relationships, then they can work, you know. If you're nice to the person, you serve the person, then they can work. You only get out what you put in. And people have this kind of glamorous idea that they're going to have this amazing Bollywood hunk who'll be their husband, and he'll be like Superman, super Hindu, and everything will be fine. Any other questions or comments? Ideal family life, which means that there will be mistakes. We do make mistakes. Prabhupada said, failure is the pillar of success. And good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So in ideal family life, you may make some mistakes. Hopefully not too many. Marriage will stay together and the kids won't end up completely insane. But whatever they are, whatever mistakes that you make, you learn from them, and then you don't make them again, you know. So Prabhupada ends by saying that in this age, Kali Yuga, it's the Sankirtan movement. And if there is money and there is education, then engage them. Because if you don't engage them, then Maya will engage them. So it's not that you may be thinking, shall I keep my money or shall I give it to Krishna? I'll give Krishna a bit, but I think that's not the option. Your two options are you give the money to Krishna or you give the money to Maya. You may be acting as an agent of Maya, but they're your only two choices. And if you give it to Maya, it's not that Maya's really pleased. Oh, you gave the money to me. You give the money to Maya and she goes, you should have given it to Krishna. Whack. So she's not pleased. You don't please Maya. It's like when Jad Bharat was being sacrificed and Maya wasn't pleased, Durga wasn't pleased. They were going to offer Jad Bharat, he was a pure devotee, Mahabhagavat, just about to chop his head off. Durga comes jumping out of the deity. She wasn't pleased. So you can't please Maya by directly serving her. You can only please Maya by serving either Krishna or serving the devotee. Then Maya is pleased. Because Jad Bharat, he'd never done any puja to Durga in his entire life. But she wanted to protect him. And all the Durga worshippers were there. They'd been doing Durga puja all their lives. And they'd got this really good human sacrifice. Durga will be so pleased with him. Durga wasn't pleased at all. So if you want to please the demigods, please Krishna. And then the demigods will be pleased. At the same time, Krishna does offer that concession for those that can't have that much faith. But I was just reading that this morning. Chaitanya Charan was saying, so Krishna is kind enough to, Krishna isn't a jealous God. If you can't directly approach him, then you can approach the demigods. So with the demigods, you do it and you get some benefit immediately. When you're serving Krishna, he doesn't give you what you want, he gives you what you need. So we have to try and find out as quickly as possible, what is that I actually need rather than what I want. Then if you find out what it is that you actually need, you'll find Krishna's providing it very nicely for you. But if you're so fixed on what you want, then you won't appreciate that you're getting what you need. And that's actually what you do want. And people don't even know what they want, that's the problem. People don't even know what they want, they're so confused. If you really want to enjoy your senses, then learn to control them. It's like if you have a dog, right? And you want to enjoy the dog, and the dog's jumping on the couch and swinging from the lampshade and doing a whoopsie in the plant pot and biting the postman, then no one's happy. But once the dog's trained, the dog's happy, you're happy, the postman's happy, your wife's happy because the house is tidy. Everyone's good, you know. So once you train the mind, once the mind is conquered, then it becomes a friend. So the mind isn't pleased at being untrained. And when the mind is focused, The first challenge actually with controlling the mind is, can you control the mind for 12 seconds? It's called dharana. Dharana is 12 seconds. If you can do it, start at the tip of your finger for 12 seconds without going anywhere else. And then if you can do it for 144 seconds, that's dhyana. That's another level of absorption. And then if you can do it with 12 times 144 seconds, which is about 28 minutes, if you can focus for 28 minutes, then you go into samadhi. That's samadhi. So Krishna is there, he's waiting, and we're trying to enter into this really, really secret, confidential place. But that means being focused. And then you go into one level of absorption, another level of absorption, and then finally into samadhi, where you're there with Krishna, you know. It's interesting, Ravana had a brother called Mahi Ravan, and the only way you could get to see him was you had to go into this lotus flower and go down the stem. But the stem would crush anybody as it was going down if they didn't keep this mantra. There's a special mantra they had to say. And as long as they were just thinking the mantra, they would go down the lotus stem and then come out and see Mahi Ravan. So if the mind wasn't controlled as you were going down, if you did anything other than think of the mantra, got squished. So Krishna's like that. Krishna's here in the spiritual world, and we're there, and we have to stay focused. And then we can penetrate through. Hear this mantra, then hear the next mantra, then hear the next mantra, then hear that whole round, then hear the next round, then the next round. And then after 4 rounds, that's about 28 minutes, then there you are. There's Krishna, and there you are. But for most of us, it will take our life, our entire life, to train ourselves to be able to sit down and chant Hare Krishna for 28 minutes without falling asleep, without looking at our phone, without thinking about what we're going to buy from Tesco's, without worrying about the color of the wallpaper or all the rubbishy things, you know, that we end up thinking about. And because of that distraction, then you don't get to penetrate in deeper. You stop there, and then you have to start again. And then you try and go in again, and then you get distracted, and you stop there, and you're back outside, and you have to try and go in again, and you get distracted, and then you're back outside. Then if you can stay focused, you can cut through the layers, and then you can penetrate through. But you have to be very, very serious to do that. It takes training, you know, to be able to control the mind. There's the holy name, there's the jiva, and there's the mind. It's very, very simple arena, actually. The jiva is trying to get to Krishna, and the mind is just trying to stop him all the time. But what about this? And did you think about that? You know, remember that guy owes you £5. And remember how that person looked at you yesterday when he was serving you prashadam? That's terrible. You should get your own back today. You should flick some prashadam on his kirta. Give him a turmeric stain. All these different distractions and diversions. And how to be able to just hear the name so that the mind can't contact us anymore. It's compared in the Gita to an incessant flow that enters the ocean. And the yogi is situated on the bottom of the ocean, so his meditation is so deep. He's aware that there's this little trickle coming in, but it's so insignificant, you know. When's prashadam? Oh, are we going to buy a new dhoti? You have to sew the hole in your sock. It's like going on, but it's so far away. You know, so he's so deep in the ocean that this can't distract him, you know. But going deep in the ocean means that, you know, if you have a weight and you're starting to sink and then you let go of the weight, you start going back up again. So you have to have the weight of the holy name, and you have to just keep hold of that. And if you keep focused, then you keep going down, and you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the ocean is 28 minutes deep. So you have to keep sinking for 28 minutes. And after 28 minutes, then you go into trance. And then you realize that the house and the car and the job is all a dream, when this is reality. Reality is eternal, and the dream is temporary. And we're distracted by the dream. And when you're trying to wake somebody up if they're really deep in sleep, you have to slap them for like half an hour, and then Oh yeah, Krishna. Oh yeah, Cowhead Boys, Vrindavan. Oh yeah. I remember now. Like when somebody has amnesia, you take them to where they used to live and they don't recognize it, but you walk them up and down the garden, and then Mrs. Jones comes out and you say, "Wave at Mrs. Jones." You don't know Mrs. Jones, but hello, Mrs. Jones. And then, okay, let's take the dog for a walk. We'll go to your favorite corner shop. It's all new to you. Then after a while, oh yeah. So it's like that with Krishna. We've forgotten Krishna. And now we're in the stage of trying to remember that we belong there. That's our real home. That's where we belong with Krishna, not here. We're trying to make this our home. And we're thinking, well, if the house is really big and the walls are really thick, maybe I can stay longer. But you stay just as long as if you lived in a tent. How many people could live quite happily in a tent? If it's warm and you can get your food and stuff. You'd have a lot more money, right? And basically when you're asleep at night, you don't know whether you're in the tent or whether you're in Buckingham Palace, As long as you're warm and you're okay. You can have a massive tent. I mean, a house is what, 300,000? If you get a good tent for that, you can get a good tent for like maybe 3,000 quid. And then that's you. The government are making you think, no, you need to get a really expensive one. So you spend your entire life getting this house. Waste of time. Total waste of time. You can get these houses now. They're, I think it's between 3,000 and 6,000. It's like a big bubble, just like a plastic thing, right? And you go in. They're really cool as anything, And you can warm them up and section them off so you can have like next door here there's a barn, and you could buy a barn and then you could just build like a little platform all around the edge of it on the inside, and then section it off and have a bedroom there, have a kitchen over there, big wood burning stove. It'll keep the whole place warm. 40,000, no problem, And it's massive. You could do all kinds of stuff in it, People are all tuned in. No, you have to get this building like this. Jai. Okay. Any last comments, questions? Everyone okay? Okay. So we'll finish there. ISKCON Guru Govinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All of you, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.